Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lesson 6 of our Adult Sabbath School lesson. Psalms is a great book, and we've been talking so much about it, and I can't wait to continue this conversation. And with that, I'm here with Pastor Sasha and my friend Eric, who has our first question.
Okay, so my question is, because we're reading through Psalms, and we just got done finished with lesson 5, and there's so many melancholy, what I would consider verses or songs through Psalms. And why, with all of that, why are melancholy songs not considered Christian? You always get people that are so upset when you have like a sad Christian song or a heavier song that deals with heavier topics, like in Christianity. It's not considered Christian.
Yeah, that's a valid question because I don't know why some cultures, some church cultures, is actually a little bit narrow-minded. The same way as there are some people who just don't want the drums in a church, no matter what the Bible says. And recently, I've read some of the comments to the Russian version of the Sabbath School lesson we did a few weeks ago. And some people just, they're very unhappy that, we're talking about the possibility of using the drums in the church music. But it's in their head. Really, it's not scripturally based. Because when you ask them direct questions about, please interpret what this actually means, they dodge it with some other, out of context, ridiculous statements from which they think they based on a Bible without actually thoroughly studying the question. It's basically ends up, I decide what is right. Because that's what it sounded. And this is not acceptable. We have to be scripturally based. We have to follow the lead of the Bible. And yes, there are many psalms which are, we talked last Sabbath School lesson, about the prophetic psalms. And, I honestly don't know why the author chose 137 psalmists in this lesson too. I've just read a little bit and it's just, it's okay to express feeling of anger. Really? Is this okay to wish somebody dead? If you're really angry, we discussed it last time, anyway, if you're really angry, you can, in your prayer, wish that his baby would be dashed against. This is why I said sounds like this. I call them imprecatory, and they're prophetic, but they're not always like this. Take, for example, this type of psalm, and this is fairly short. I don't know if, Monique, you can read for us Psalm number 3.
Lord, how they have increased who trouble me. Many are they who rise up against me. Many are they who say of me, there is no help for him in God. But you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory and the one who lifts up my head. I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. I lay down and slept. I awoke, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me all around. Arise, O Lord. Save me, O Lord. For you have struck all my enemies on the cheekbone. You have broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing is upon your people.
See, how does this begin?
Upset. It seems like he's frustrated and desperate.
He's desperate. Too many people who hate him.
Yeah, facts. Been there.
By the way, take a look at under which circumstances this psalm was written, because we have an interesting heading there. What was going on? in David's life?
A psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son.
Do you remember the story?
I do. Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually like one of like the top 5 stories I tell people when they like ask me like, what's the crazy stuff in the Bible? I was like, Absalom and David. Like that is, because like that's a crazy time.
It is very tragic.
Yeah.
Beyond, it's crazy, but it's very tragic because number one, can you imagine something worse than your own child wants to kill you?
True.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And at the end, when you read the whole story and there are different things to it, David as a king, he realizes that there are people, his real enemies are behind his son, and they're basically messing up with his head, trying to tell him how great he is, and that's why, they want to get rid of him using the hands of Absalom. But unfortunately, at the very end, he begged his commanders to spare the life of Absalom, but there was an accident out in the woods, and he got caught, and he got basically killed. It was accident. Nobody intended to. David wanted to see him, talk to him and stuff like this, and so at the very end, after. He ended up just mourning and mourning, crying, "Oh, Absalom, Absalom." So it's really sad.
Yeah, tragic.
I mean, this is the saddest part of David's biography, if we would say so. There is a sadness. And do you notice these little words here in my New King James Version? It's always Selah.
Yeah, I was wondering about those.
Yeah, I kind of always skip it because I don't know how to pronounce it and I don't really know what it means.
Yeah. Selah, of course, you can look at the Hebrew dictionary, it means a rock. But what does it mean? Most likely, and I would side with the commentators that interpret these words like this, it's just a pause.
Okay.
So that's kind of the verses. This is how they delineate between the verses. So from sadness, verses 3 and 4, that's, this is kind of they made like a hymn. So from verse 3 and 4, it seems like he's looking up at the Lord, and he realized that the Lord can lift up his head. Is this phrase, my glory, the one who lifts up my head, is this phrase understandable, what it means?
I'm just thinking like it's God that wakes him up in the morning or something.
What do you think, Eric?
I'm thinking it's the one that, like, how to say it?
Hebrew,
keeps him motivated.
You're right. See, Hebrew is very graphic. So when you are sad, it's always depicted like your head is dropped like this. Mm-hmm. So when you want to keep going and, relief from sadness, you get like this.
Okay.
So when your head is up, you are upbeat and motivated. When you said your head is like this. So that's basically the Hebrew. And so, he heard him so it's getting when you look at these Psalms, and as you noticed, they're not so sad, but not prophetic. They're always sad at the beginning. Okay. It starts with sadness and it gets better as he goes.
Well, and sometimes you kill a baby.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it calls for it.
In this particular, you don't kill the baby.
Right, this one don't kill a baby.
In this, it doesn't kill the baby. All it says, you're my Lord, and eventually you will hit my enemies on the cheekbone, So he's talking about God as the bigger brother, some kind of bully attacks you in the school constantly, and here comes your big brother, and he's gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
protect you. So that's getting better. And then at the very end, look, verse 8, salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing is upon your people. So should we have a melancholic songs? Of course. Yeah. But these melancholic songs, the Bible shows us the pattern for melancholic songs. I know many melancholic songs which are not Christian songs, and they're they're sometimes suicidal, and some of the music out there in the world, and some of the bands, you probably know more than me, they can really drive people to suicide. Am I correct?
Some can. Some of them, I think, I miss. Like, we're kind of going on a little bit of a tangent, but I miss the melancholy songs that I grew up on. I wish they had more songs that were like that, like the grunge music that I grew up on, and like you could the fact, and this is kind of what I think with this, is there are people that can read this and relate to it. So even when like some of the songs like that I grew up on were like my parents heard and they're like so depressing. Some of them are, but some of them are like you're relating to someone that's going through something that's similar to you. Yeah. So you can relate to it and you're not alone.
That's what I can understand. And that's what I actually liked about like Psalms, Ecclesiastes, books like that. But like you're pointing out the difference between like, just mutual expression and like actually like depressing, like something like turn this off. Like, sometimes you gotta turn it off.
Yeah. Some of it can get pretty morbid and like you're going down a crazy path, but there are some bands, Last Resort is one good one that is literally a song about suicide, but so many people related to it and he didn't kill himself. It was about like going through it and surviving.
Actually.
So I kind of want to, it brings up something that I was thinking about, because like the duty of a musician really is to be honest. And I feel like that good music is authentic. And we have cases where the musician kind of goes off the deep end, but we also have cases where like they stay true and they stay like, they still have that will, have that fire to like give something to their audience and not, so much take. I'm not really sure how to put it other than like, there's a difference between like, the journey to truth and like making something relevant, making something relatable, and like a journey to like just falling off the deep end.
Yeah, this is important. And in my opinion, what happens, there are many instances where churches want some kind of, I call it a ceremonial music. Okay. And it's like, I don't call it a beat. I always, as I said, I always relate it to God Save the Queen type of type of music. And I think that kind of music and these kind of words, they are not really relevant to today's younger generation. Am I correct?
Yeah, they're not as relatable, even though they mean something and they had their place. And some of them are still very good and still relevant, but some of them it's hard to like really feel the music and feel the vibe. It's
interesting. You coming from your experience, coming from my experience entering the church, I was in a totally different attitude, because when I came to the church in 1991, I was 20, and I always was upset that Russian and Ukrainian music was always sad. I have a friend, he passed away. He was famous, he was known as that's how they publicized about him. He was a famous Quebecian artist, but his name was Stepan Starenky. He's Ukrainian. So, I mean, he was born in Canada, Ukrainian parents, lived in Quebec, and so that's why he's Quebecian, but he's Ukrainian. And so we talked about the music with, in fact, we talked about Ukraine and what he remembered from his parents, actually sadness and melancholy. There is a lot of melancholy in many Ukrainian religious songs, which young generation doesn't like. And sometimes today in Ukrainian churches, and I know one of the churches, pastor is having to navigate through different musical tastes. And the often people, older generation, traditional type of people, they say, "Oh, that's too upbeat. That's too upbeat." And some of the songs, I know they're sad sounding, but it's the reason why. Again, I won't elaborate about Ukraine, but some Russian songs that were sounding sad were written in late 1920s, throughout 1930s, and it's about oppression which Stalin inflicted upon the church. There was one song which sounded like nobody overcome our faith. Even we will be put into the shackles, we will still believe and follow Jesus, something like. And it's sang in a very, very sad, but it's sad, but it's resentful.
I'm having a hard time agreeing that like kids don't like that stuff. I like that stuff, and I know I'm getting kind of like past the age of like being like cool and young.
Really?
I mean, like a little bit. Like some rooms I get into, I tell people how old I am, and they kind of just like they drop the fork. Like everybody's like, huh? Yeah, and like I've stopped. I know, right? I've stopped being like relevant, right? But even still, like there's this artist, there's this album. My sister, she's 16. She told me to listen to, right? And so I'm listening to it like back to back, and then all of a sudden I'm just like crushed. Like my spirit is crushed, and I'm like, why am I so upset? I turned the music off, and everything was fine. So I think I don't know. I'm having a hard time agreeing that like kids these days don't like maybe melancholy church music because it's kind of a different kind of vibe because your spirit has to be in like a particular place. But when it comes to like the mainstream stuff, like these kids are kind of sad.
There's very depressing music out there.
Yeah,
right now, but
it's kind of in.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, I'm very curious.
Is this the God Save the Queen stuff you keep talking about?
No.
Okay.
This is different.
It is God Save the Queen stuff.
No, I'm saying this is sad. This is just boring, Pastor Sasha. It's kind of a vibe. Hold on.
Yeah.
No, I like it. Okay,
You
well,
do.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not cool anymore. So,
You do. Well, it's kind of interesting.
I appreciate the musicality. Maybe if it was done on a different instrument, it'd be a lot more like.
Wow, I'm surprised because the Russian and Ukrainian youth of your age would not even understand it. I know the story of this music. Mm-hmm. This music was written from the inside the cell of the most notorious prison in Russia, and the author of this music, we don't exactly know, but I think most likely he was just shot. Eventually, was sentenced to death, and it was one of the leaders of the Adventist Church back in 1920s, 1930s. Arrested by Stalin's machine and just wanted to crush him and break his faith. I'm very interesting how it resonates, in American culture. Surprise.
Kind of like it, the musicality, and I'm a sucker for minors. Like I just love
minor chords, minor keys are phenomenal.
Well, yeah, God Save the Queen is the major, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's what changes everything. Okay, the key.
Very interesting.
So the minor keys and the minor chords, like they they give you a sense of longing. Like that's what makes it sound. And I know people that say Christian music shouldn't be played in a minor key, period. Like it's wrong to play in a minor key. It feels wrong. But there's so many good songs because it creates that feeling of longing, and it can be a positive longing or a negative longing.
Right.
And this one in particular is more of a negative because they're kind of depressed.
Right.
I was surprised. I never thought about this, but I was surprised that every time I would show the Hebrew Psalms, of course, the ones we were playing back, first lessons, I don't know if you can even determine whether it's a minor key or a major key because it's not it's not a Pythagorean style of music.
Google that one.
So because major, minor, all this was basically, invented, discovered, by Pythagoras, in ancient Greece.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same one who discovered the theorem of Pythagorean theorem, about the triangle.
You don't like that.
No.
And the 7 colors of rainbows. So he was kind of a philosopher.
He was busy.
He was multifaceted. They all been. But the style of music I showed you back then, kind of a desert Bedouin style, not from that. So I don't know if it's minor key. But when you play, the music which we pull, Jewish music, including the Psalms of David, people say, "Oh, they're in minor key. We like it." That's interesting,
It is nice, especially when you're playing in minor or something's in minor, and they kind of what's that called? Resolve into major. That makes the resolve so much better. When you actually, everything has its place, and it makes you appreciate both ends when you have both ends.
Yeah. Crowder has a song called "Back to the Garden," I think, and I'll play it for you after when we're done. But it's such a good song, and he's a good songwriter. But and he tells stories, which makes him even better. And the whole song is how he wants to go back to the garden. It's about Eden, getting it back to that point. And it's such a phenomenal song. It's probably one of my favorites by him. You never hear it on the radio. You never hear it anywhere. But it's really good. And it's songs like that I think don't get appreciated as much. And it's obviously not going to be worship music. You're not going to be playing that up front before service.
Right. Because some are kind of hard. They don't translate.
Right.
I get that part. But yeah.
Right. So it's how do we, oh man, because I want Christian music to be more integrated into and listened to and more mainstream. And there's a couple bands that have been able to do it, but we're not really good at it.
It's interesting. What you are referring to would be definitely supported by the book of Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, this is kind of to get an idea what's it all about. You can read verses 1 through 4.
To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance.
See?
Yeah.
A time to mourn and a time to dance.
That.
And so the book of Psalms has both. Both, what we read is basically the sad, from sadness he comes. That's the pattern. We read Psalm 3, you can read Psalm 4 and Psalm 5, and you're going to have the same pattern. It starts with sadness. Something is going on in his life, and that's the reflection of the life of David, because you even see in in chapter in Psalm 3, he was running away from his son who was about to kill him. So it was definitely a big reason to be melancholy, depressed, sad, whatever adjective you want. But, for example, you can go into some other major, psalms, and you're gonna see a totally different tune. How about Psalm 96, verse 1 through 4? It's longer, so let's not read the whole thing, but let's say 1 through 4.
Okay. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bless his name. Proclaim the good news of his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations, his wonders among all peoples. For the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods.
Do you see? How do you find this one?
He's pretty happy.
Yeah, that one will be. I don't know if it's gonna be. I know several versions of it. I know one friend. He played this Israeli version, but I can't find it anywhere. So don't ask me to sing it.
I will one day, not now.
Yeah, but look at the end of it, verses 10 through 13.
Say among the nations, the Lord reigns, the world also is firmly established. It shall not be moved. He shall judge the people righteously. Let the heavens rejoice, and let the earth be glad. Let the sea roar in all its fullness. Let the field be joyful and all that is in it. Then all the trees of the woods will rejoice before the Lord, for he is coming to judge the earth. He shall judge the whole world with righteousness, and the peoples with his truth.
Yeah. So this part, this stanza, there are many pretty, upbeat songs that are today. Let's see if I can quickly. If I can find, no. I know why. It's let's see if I can find this type of. Let's see if you may like it. It's a Hasidic music. So let's see if.
Sounds like a polka.
Just want to clap. Okay.
Is this minor or major?
Sounds major. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Sounds major.
Yeah, but see, you can get this, you can get that. So,
A couple minors in there.
the time for everything. And this one is definitely upbeat. So, in the book of Psalms, 150 of them, you have sad, you have upbeat. Some, you have prophetic. So, when emotions go over too much, usually it's prophetic.
Okay.
And that's the reason why I've mentioned the word imprecatory psalms. It's an imprecation over the evil. And that's typical. Again, something like this is typical to the ancient Near East. You have different genres. So I don't know if there is an analogy to any of this in contemporary music, some kind of imprecation or wishing somebody to be something to be destroyed, but at least.
Hopefully it's out there. I haven't found it yet, but now I'll be looking.
Yeah, but it's not as many. But majority would be either that said like Psalm 3, 4, or that upbeat like Psalm 96.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing to end on as we're kind of thinking about, like, there's that righteousness in it all that Psalm shows. There's that propheticness in it all that Psalm shows. And that's one way that we can implement that into our lives. But then there's the other end where it's like, we're kind of getting too deeply into ourselves and too deeply into the world, where it's, we're just starting to kind of fall off the deep end a little bit. And that's something we all have to be mindful of when we're experiencing these different things in our lives. So thank you all for watching and sticking with us to the end. Please leave a comment down below about all the things that you've kind of thought of through the lesson and things that you want to see for next time. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on that bell notification so we don't miss you on the next one. Thanks again, guys. Bye-bye.